Hello, it's Pete Taylor here again. Day 20 of my sourdough Saturday preparations for baking sourdough at the Herring Corn Mill. I've been giving my rye starter some special attention because I'm a little concerned that it's still very sour. So what I'm going to do with it today is I'm going to bulk it up and do a bake off it tomorrow. So today I'm going to be giving it multiple feeds but without cutting it back, and then tomorrow I'll bake one loaf just to see whether it's producing something that's going to be edible. It's gone back to a nice beery smell today and tastes quite sharp, not quite as grapefruity as it was, but it's still in that ballpark. It's quite sharp. So I'm going to take well, the whole of this really and bulk this up today, so I've got enough to make a loaf with tomorrow. So I'm going to pop the whole thing in there. It gives me a chance to clean the pot out and pop it in the new pot again. All of that can go in there. So I'll give it a double feed now and a double feed later on in the day. Just gradually work it up throughout the day, and then when I've got enough I'll carry on from there. I've weighed the bowl with nothing in it and written the weight of that, so I know how much I've got, how much starch I've got in the bowl. I can work that out and get that accurate when I come to make my bread. Double feed, 50 grams of rye flour, 70 grams of water. So this is basically the same thing that I'm going to be doing the day before sourdough Saturday, bulking up a very active starter so that it's absolutely roaring with activity on the day that we actually come to bake with it on the Saturday. So I'm only going to make one loaf with it. I don't want to make two loaves and find that neither of them is edible, so one loaf is quite enough to test out the state of the starter. So I'm going to be working up to 300 grams of starter, which will contain 175 grams of water and 125 grams of flour. And then because this is such a sharp beast, I'm going to make the rest up to 500 grams of flour by adding 375 grams of white flour. So the white flour will have enough gluten in it to make the loaf rise properly, and 125 grams of flour in this 300 grams of rye starter will be well enough to give it plenty of strong sour rye flavour. So that's the theory. If it turns out to be absolutely horrible, I'll go and feed the ducks with the loaf. Otherwise I'll know that I'm on the way to getting a usable starter in a fortnight's time. So it's just a way of checking where we're up to and making sure that I'm getting the kind of results, or I'm likely to get the kind of results that I want to get at sourdough Saturday. So we'll see how it gets on later on in the day. Well, it's the middle of the afternoon now, so I'm going to give this rye starter its second feed of the day and see how it takes to that. There's not a great deal of strength coming off in terms of smell. It's going back to fairly fruity and less alcohol-y at the moment. I'll just give it a stir and see what happens. There's quite a lot of gas in there, so it's shrunk back a bit, and the gas that's come off there is quite tangy, actually, quite pungent. That's just a little taste. That's quite pleasant, actually. A lot less sharp than it has been, I'm very glad to say, at long last. Just quietly pleasant as opposed to challenging as it has been. Anyway, I'm going to feed it again with a double feed, 50 grams of flour. Cat's just coming to see what I'm up to. 70 grams of water. Give that a good stir and put it back to rest. So with any luck, by the end of the day I'm going to be in a position to take this sourdough starter and mix in some white flour so I can leave it overnight in the tin. I'm just going to do a straightforward tin loaf, and the idea is that I'll mix about two parts white to 1 part rye starter. I'll leave it in the tin overnight and see what we have in the morning, and if it's halfway presentable, I'll put it in the oven and bake it. We'll see what we get. Right, so I'm going to leave this again now for another 4 or 5 hours maybe, and then just before bedtime assemble my loaf in the tin and see how we get on then. Okay, it's 7 o'clock in the evening now, so it's time for the third feed of the day for my sourdough rye, and then about 10 o'clock I'll mix some white flour in to make a dough and put it in a tin to rise overnight and bake it in the morning hopefully. So since this afternoon there's been a fair amount of bubbling going on in there, so it's looking quite healthy. It's been quite active during the day, so I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to slap in another 50 grams of flour, 70 grams of water. Smells like all bran this evening rather. Yes, that's a lot more gentle than it was a couple of days ago. So I think we're getting there with this now, fortunately, because it's taken a while to come together. But persistence and observing what's happening with the sourdough is definitely what you have to get used to doing on a very regular basis, because if you watch what it's doing and react appropriately, or learn to react appropriately, learn what is appropriate, then you'll get on very well with it. And if it gets fed regularly and reacted to as it changes over time, then it'll be very happy. It's just a little taste. Now that of course I should really have tasted that before I fed it, but because I've fed it, it seems particularly mild at the moment, so that really doesn't mean a lot. So I'll have another little taste this evening, see what it tastes like then, and I'll have a better idea of how we're getting on. But the signs are good, I think, that it's heading in the right direction now. So that's it. 3 hours from now I'll make my bread. Hello, it's Pete Taylor here again. It's 10:30 at night and I've got one job to do to finish off my day of sourdough Saturday preparations, which is to take this rye starter that I've been feeding throughout the day, bulking up, and make some bread with most of it, put what's left into my nice clean container, and then go off to bed. I'll have a good rest like the starter needs to as well. So I've weighed this jar of starter, which weighs 1699 grams. Now before I started I weighed the bowl without anything in it, which was 1247 grams, so I've actually got 452 grams of starter in there, and I need 300 grams which I'm going to put with this white flour that I've already mixed up with some water to make a basic dough consistency. So I want 300 of this to go in there, and then out of the 152 that's left I'm going to put a small amount into my clean pot and give it a standard feed of 25 grams of flour, 35 grams of water. So the first thing I've got to do is take 152 grams out of here, so that this is the right amount to mix my test loaf of rye and white mixed bread for tomorrow. So I've got an empty bowl here, switch on the scales, give this a stir just to make sure that everything I take out is at the same consistency, and I want 152 grams out of here into there. This is quite a complicated set of things to be doing at 10 o'clock at night, but You've got to go for it, haven't you? 105. 152. There we are. Right, so I'll put that aside for now, and just put all this. Actually, I can put the white dough into that. So I've now got everything in there that I need to make my bread, apart from the salt, because I've mixed up the white flour and water, but no salt, so that's been autolysing for a couple of hours, 3 hours maybe. So I've now got a total of 500 grams of flour, 350 grams of water, and no salt, and all that natural yeast. So I've got to add me 5 or 6 grams of salt to that, and then that's ready to make bread with. So I can put that away, and then I'll show you before I go to bed what the bread looks like tonight, and then we'll have another look at it tomorrow and see what it looks like in the morning. So out of this 152, I'm going to start with just a spoonful, I think. Another spoon so that I don't mess up my weighed amount for the bread. So just have a spoonful of that. So this is all that I'm taking in my starter that I've been feeding for 2 weeks. Concentrate on this now, forget about the bread. In fact, I think I'll have a little bit more of that. There we are. So there's a small amount of very active rye starter, which I'm going to give its 4th feed of the day now. This is a single feed, so it's effectively been well cut back. In with a single feed. Quick stir, and then I'm done. So all that remains for me now to do is put the lid on this, put it to sleep for the night. I'm leaving it out in the kitchen because I want to encourage it to be as active as it can, and then get on and make my test loaf, which I'm going to leave overnight in the kitchen in a nice big tin, so that if it really grows strongly it won't be all over the kitchen floor in the morning. And I'll see how that is in the morning. So I'll show you what the bread looks like when I've mixed it. Well, here it is. I've not done a great job of shaping that, I must say, but it's there. It'll get plenty of time. It's got plenty of room to grow, as you can see. It'll sort itself out overnight, I've no doubt. And we'll see tomorrow whether it's edible or not. Well, that's had overnight to rise, and it's clearly risen very well. Ready to go in the oven just straight away. So that's one well risen rye sourdough bread with about 2/3 white flour, 1/3 rye. And here it is out of the oven. It's had a nice long time in the oven, nearly an hour. Lovely. And here's the rye starter that's been bubbling away to itself overnight. That's the bit that didn't get baked. This is the bit that did get baked. Now then, let's see what this looks like inside. Sounds nice and crispy on the outside. Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Get in there. Oh yes.